My name is Michael Combs, and I'm the writer and director of Cash and Prizes. I wanted to give you a quick update. We have filmed over 30 interviews to explain why marriage is ending. We have decided to release this interview early because there was a break in the dam. The first ever 50-50 equal shared parenting ordered by a judge, not a jury, in the entire great state of Texas happened this September. The Galveston County Court ordered a true 50-50 with no child support. First, I need to explain that Texas is one of 45 states that basically mandates the 27-15-4, meaning if you are a heterosexual female, you are all but guaranteed 27 days a month with your children. If you're LGBT, you are all but guaranteed 15 days a month with them as well. And if you are a heterosexual man, you will get at best 4 days a month with your children. So what the great state of Texas is saying, that a heterosexual woman is a better mom than a lesbian mom, and a homosexual dad is a better parent than the heterosexual dad. It is honestly so bigoted in Texas, you can be a prostitute operating a brothel inside of your home and still get 27 days a month. And that's not one case. This is a blatant and clear violation of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause and the new Jim Crow. The bottom line here is all these laws were built for 1920 and not 2020. The simple fact is that the highest life outcome for children is to be in an intact family or in an equal shared time family. The absolute worst outcome for any child is to be in a single parent home. All of the social science data for the last 40 years, I repeat, all of the social science data for the last 40 years says that children from single parent homes have disastrous life outcomes. The science on this is airtight. Don't believe me? Google life outcomes of single parent homes. The reality is that the supermajority of every social pathology we face in this country stems from not running 50-50s. Homelessness, suicide, teen suicide, alcoholism, drug addiction, think opioid crisis. Psychological disorders, think ADHD, anorexia, bulimia, depression, oppositional defiant disorder, prison inmates, juvenile inmates, crime, and terrorism. Almost all school shooters and mass shooters. For people of the great state of Texas, if you don't want the liberals to take your guns away like in Australia, you need to contact the NRA and your state legislators and get them on board with equal shared parenting. It only takes 5 people per district to make this happen. Gun control advocates, if you want to prevent nearly all mass or school shooters, all these groups are nearly exclusive products of 0-100s or 80-20s. We can get control of this epidemic without the gridlock of this gun control issue in this country. Nearly 60% of children in the US are born outside of wedlock, and over 75% of children in this country will be on child support at one time in their life. Marriage is over, and we have to deal with the consequences for our children. This landmark case is Momper versus Momper, September 2018, Galveston County, Texas. What this case means is that if you are in Galveston County, you can now reference it to get equal shared parenting with no child support. In addition to that, any case in Texas can use this as a point of reference when a judge pushes back and says there has never been a 50-50 ordered by a judge in Texas. Well, now you have it. In addition, I want to clarify why a judge would order 50-50 with no child support. If parent A had half time with the children, they would incur all the expenses for that child or children. Meaning you would have a bedroom half the time, utilities half the time, and food expenses half that time. Conversely, parent B would have the exact same scenario. The bottom line here is that if you're above the poverty level and are splitting children equally, why do I need your money? And why do you need my money? We all make life decisions to get to this point, and we are not going to exploit another person for gain. We at Cash and Prizes are strong believers in diversity and next level thinking. In 7 countries in Western Europe, only 2% of divorces go to court, and they mandate a 50-50. Why? Because it is about life outcomes for children and parents. And since both parents are splitting the children, there is no alimony or excessive child support over a couple $100s a month. Why? Because they encourage their citizens to make mindful life choices as opposed to rewarding the opposite. If you're a judge, a lawyer, or a legislator, I would beg you to read the social sciences. Read The Boy Crisis by Dr. Warren Farrell. It's available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or it's free on Audible for new members. Also, consider reading The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Thank you, and please donate at gofundme.com/cashandprizesmovie. If you donate $100, I will send you a hat with a logo. If you donate $250, you will get a t-shirt. However, details on that will follow after the new year. Thank you very much. So I'm here with Scott Momper to talk about male disposability and to talk about vet issues. Vet suicide, what vets face, and what's wrong. Tell me about yourself.
Who am I? That's a good question. I'm a father. I'm a Marine. I'm a veteran. I'm a paycheck. I'm a divorce rape culture survivor.
Yeah.
I'm an activist. I'm a voice for the voiceless. I'm a man. I'm a father. I'm a positive role model. I'm a softball coach. I'm Semper Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, in the heart of it, once a Marine, always a Marine. I'm a guy who fought for my right just to find out that I have no rights.
Exactly.
I'm the one person who 15 years ago, you could have said, everything you're fighting for is for nothing, and we'd have fought. Fast forward to 2 years ago, and you'd have been 100% right. That I could walk into a courtroom, having never been accused of abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, any misconduct, and be told, congratulations, you're now going to be a paycheck and a visitor in your kids' lives.
Yep.
And the worst feeling that I felt in a long time was when I went, how did we as a society get to the point that I can die for my rights and die to protect my rights, but when it comes to enforcing them, I can't?
Yes. And you die for everyone's rights.
Absolutely. You know, when we take that oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I really figured it was foreign.
Yes.
I didn't realize
it's
that...
the family court of equity. The problem is that when courts of equity have no equity whatsoever, and it all depends on what your underwear is, what's going on?
Well, and I always understood we had a justice system. I believed in the justice system. What I have come to know is it's not a justice system. It's an unjust system that's designed to generate revenue at any means necessary, no matter what the death toll costs.
Right. So my team's big thing is that nearly every social problem we face with in America, whether it's 95% of school shooters,
mm-hmm.
whether it's behavioral problems, ghettos, gangs, prisons, the increase in prisons, juvenile detention, teenage and child suicide,
teenage pregnancy,
teenage
drug use, runaway suicide.
You got it. All that stems from not running 50-50s and equity parenting.
Absolutely.
All of it. And why is that? Because, well, what does she get?
Well, if she's getting 27 days a month and I get 4, she gets a big paycheck.
Of course she gets a paycheck. But the other issue is that, do you have a choice as a man in 45 states
No.
to be equal?
No.
Not at all. So you go over to Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever it is.
Absolutely.
You fight and die for their rights
mm-hmm.
to help them. And you come home and what do you get? You come home to an empty house, a silver bullet, 4 days a month if you're lucky.
Yep.
And she gets to take 70% of your net pay.
Absolutely.
What a great deal.
Oh,
let's sign up for that.
Sign me right up. Oh, wait, we already did.
We already did. But let's talk about suicide. Let's slow it down a little bit.
Let's back it up.
The big issue is that America loves our vets. We say we love our vets. We have airplanes, F-22s fly over stadiums, and we do all kinds of things for our vets. We have parades for our vets. But we don't give a crap about our vets, do we?
We love the concept of the veteran.
Yeah.
I think America is in love with the concept of a hero.
Yeah.
The ideology of a hero. But when it comes to supporting our vets, and I don't mean Thank you for your service. Here's 10% discount. I mean, when it comes to truly supporting our vets and saying he fought and bled for these rights.
So why did he fight and bleed for your rights?
Because
right?
we believe in it.
Right.
Because this is our country.
And when you come home, you don't get to get your kids?
No.
Are you kidding me?
Why would you get your kids?
My favorite quote from Walter Isaacson about Steve Jobs is, our kids are all our hopes and dreams.
Absolutely.
So when you take away your kids, what do you have to fight for?
So that is a key point. When we talk about veterans and suicide, a lot of people always ask, well, why is it happening? What can we do? As a Marine, I had a purpose. I knew what my purpose was on active duty. It was to protect the guy to the right of me and the guy to the left of me.
Yeah.
I knew my goal. I knew my mission. I knew everything.
Yeah.
And I lived it, breathed it, and was willing to die for it.
Yeah.
And that cost a lot. That cost not being there for the first breath, for not being there for the first word, not being there for the first step,
Yes.
not being there to hear daddy for the first time, not being there for the first day of school, not being there for the first birthday. That costs a lot. And that's a cost we're willing to pay. And we're willing to sacrifice that to make sure that our families are safe.
Yes. So that bombs don't go off in Sacramento.
Absolutely.
Or bombs don't go off in New York.
So planes don't go through the world, through the next World Trade Center.
Yeah.
I would rather fight them there than fight them here. I would rather fight them there so my son doesn't have to fight them. We get out, whether it's served our time and got out, decided to go back to school, decided, you know what, my family's more important than my sacrifice at this point. I stood my watch. I did my time. Then you get hit with divorce. Well, let me back up.
Well, let's slow down a little bit and let's talk about the statistics of the high suicide rate amongst vets. Is it because they're getting blown up and they're all screwed up in the head?
No,
it's not.
It's purpose.
It's purpose.
It's purpose. Because when you're in, you have a purpose.
Yes.
And I know for me, when I got out, I said, I already lost so much of my kids' lives that I'm going to do everything I can
to make up for it.
And to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
I became a stunt coordinator, a spotter for cheer. I became a softball coach. I became a choir chaperone.
Right.
I became the guest speaker on Veterans Day and Memorial Day at my daughter's school. I became a watchdog that walks the halls at my daughter's school.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's my way to show my daughters how a man should be. That's my way to show my daughters what protection looks like. Then that's taken from me in a blink of an eye. So now I lost my purpose as a Marine. I'm still a Marine, but I don't have that battlefield to go to anymore.
Right.
I don't have that camaraderie. Now I've lost my purpose of being a protector for my daughters because at 4 days a month, there's only so much I can protect. Yeah. So now what is there left? Because as a veteran, we're taught to be the best of the best. You come out, you get a job. Guess what? Companies can say they want the best. No, companies want you to come in, do your job, and go home. You don't have to come in here and be an all-star. You don't have to come in here and be a superstar.
Well, the issue is that we live in a world where the laws are made in 1920 and definitely not for 2020. It's a world where women couldn't get a job, a decent job. They couldn't go to college. They couldn't get anything decent. Now we're in a world where over 60% of college graduates are women. Over 60% of graduate school graduates are women. The majority of law and medical school graduates are women. This is a women's world. The glass ceiling is gone. Women that never marry make 112% of their male counterparts across the board. But somehow, when we have children and we walk into divorce court, we get 4 days a month.
Well, we're a paycheck.
Yes, because it's male disposability.
Absolutely. I mean, if you knew that for every dollar you collected, you were going to get paid $12, why wouldn't you?
Exactly. So what he's talking about is the state of Texas essentially collects $4 billion in child support. And they love, it makes really great, it makes a really great ad campaign or it makes a really good.
It's a tagline, catchline, whatever you want to get.
Yeah, it sounds good on the news. But the reality is that the state of Texas collects twice as much child support as the state of California. Why? They do because of Social Security 4D.
Yep.
And over 2/3 of the AG's office, the Attorney General's office, the people that go after child support, are paid for by the federal government to do so.
Absolutely.
And if you don't go after it, the state of Texas would lose billions and billions, tens and tens of billions of Social Security. In fact, 1/3 of your Social Security budget, it doesn't go to old people to stop them eating canned food, from eating canned dog food. It's to go after child support.
Absolutely.
But the secret about child support is that 70% of people on child support arrears make under $10,000 a year. So you're just criminalizing the poor. All of this would evaporate if you simply went to equity parenting and 50-50.
Let's not even talk about debtor's prison.
Let's not even talk. Yeah. But we're getting off track.
It's easy to do on this subject.
It is really easy to do.
Veteran suicide.
Veteran suicide. Are vets killing themselves? Are active duty personnel killing themselves because it's too stressful?
No. We eat stress. I don't know of any other environment other than a police officer.
So what are the statistics? Like, as far as what's causing suicide, is suicide really a symptom of divorce rape culture?
Absolutely. The last numbers that I've gotten. Now, let me preface this. You cannot get a statistic from the VA.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, if you had a dirty little secret that you are not taking care of, we love our vets. We support our vets. We take care of our vets. Yet 40 vets a day are killing themselves. And of that, 75% of them are going through divorce and child custody or have in the last 2 years. We're really not taking care of our vets, but we don't want you to know that.
Boom. So when I see a statistic that says 21 vets kill themselves a day,
right?
Is that active duty and vets, or is that just vets?
That's just vets, and that's only from 21 states.
It's only from 21 states.
And that study's 8 years old.
Right. So it's actually it's much higher.
The average age of the individual committed suicide in that study was 60.
My team talks about the Kposowa study.
Mm-hmm.
The Kposowa study talks about has a 0.02% flaw rate.
Okay. Which is unheard of.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's like, there's several of them.
That's dynamite.
It's dynamite. Because 40 men a day kill themselves as a direct result of the family court. But the flaw in the study is this, and I'm willing to bet that the veteran study has the exact same flaw as this one.
Yeah.
It's, I'm only going to mark you killed yourself from divorce
if you left a note.
If you left a note. It's not, I engaged in risky behavior, I committed suicide by cop, like if you're African American, right? There's a reason why 6% of our population commit over half the murders, because African Americans kill themselves by this. It has to do with the triangle trade. It has to do with constructs of, we're going to give you this outrageous figure to pay. You figure out how to pay it, and you go commit crime, because 95% of people in lockup in your county prison.
Well, I mean, when you talk about minorities, you're talking about generational, fatherless generations.
Because the average age of a grandmother is 31 in the lower half economic. That's what's going on.
It's outrageous.
That never happened. We had 3%, in 1960, there was a 3% out of wedlock birth rate. I'm not saying that we should all be married to have children, but now we're over 50%.
Good luck getting anybody to get married anymore.
They're all dying.
Yeah.
Marriage is over, man.
Yeah.
It's toast. But we can talk about how over half your bridal shops have closed in the last 10 years, how over 40% of your jewelry shops have closed. Yeah. Men are running away from marriage. They're running away from it. It's not men that lack commitment. It's men that want to get divorce raped, and they're done with it. The flaw in the study is I wrote a note saying I killed myself from this. It's not, I've been tossed in and out of prison, I'm homeless, and I'm 3 or 4 or 5 years out. It's not, I committed suicide by car, I committed suicide by cop, I committed a homicide, I engaged in all this risky behavior.
Yeah, I drank myself to death because I haven't seen my kids in 360 days. Yeah.
This man is unstable. He's depressed. Yeah. Oh, this poor man. And no wonder why he shouldn't be with his kids.
Yeah.
That's the narrative. That's the lie that's talked about. Because statistically, these men are amazing. Yeah. They are 100% fathers. They're doing everything. Their basketball games, their cheer, their ballet, their everything. Yeah. And all of a sudden, they kick on their butt. It's like Texas. So 7% of children are raised by stay-at-home moms. 3% are raised by stay-at-home dads. Here's a secret for stay-at-home dads. You shouldn't be one. And here's why. Over half of marriages end every year. Flip a coin. You're not going to make it. 9 out of 10 marriages are initiated by women if she's college educated. 8 out of 10 if she's not.
Yep.
But if she makes more than you and you're the stay-at-home dad, according to the University of Chicago, your divorce rate moves from 50% to 75%. It doubles. So it nearly guarantees you're not going to make it.
Yep.
And when you have conversations with people, with high-powered people in Texas, they just say, well, what happens when gay people get married? Because actually you have 27 days for a heterosexual woman, 4 days for a heterosexual man,
15.
And 15 days for LGBT. So what you're saying is a heterosexual woman is a better parent than a lesbian mom, and a homosexual dad's a better dad than a heterosexual dad. That's exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely.
But when you confront them about what happens when 2 dudes get divorced, when 2 ladies get divorced, what happens then? Well, the parent who is the primary caregiver is going to get the time. Excuse me? Is this 1920? I have to work and you have to work. We all work. There is no primary caretaker. There is no primary caretaker. And what happens to that dude? The heterosexual dude. I'll tell you what happens to that heterosexual dude. He loses his kids. He goes from being the primary caretaker, the 3% of kids raised by stay-at-home dads, where he's packing lunches, he's PTAing it, he's doing everything. He goes to 4 days a month, if he's lucky, and he has $2,000 in child support arrears. This is all the game.
And insurance.
Plus insurance.
Everybody always loves to talk about the child support.
Right.
You know, child support, most men I know would have no problem paying child support if they had equal time with their kids.
That's the secret. So the other thing is that I talked to lots of cops because cops are highly disposable.
Absolutely.
So we talk about male disposability, where men occupy 24 of the top 25 death professions.
Right.
You know, line walkers, oil well riggers, cops, electricians,
firefighters,
first responders, and 93% of the most dangerous jobs are occupied by men, and men do that so they can make more money.
Absolutely.
And why they want to make more money? So they can come over and lord it over their wives? No.
So we can provide. Men, as general, are sacrificial creatures that will do whatever it takes to provide.
But it's not just providing. As a man, I can't get that woman and I can't get my family if I don't make good money.
Yep.
Then when I'm working 60 hours a week to get this chick, and I work 60 or 80 when I have kids, then when she files for divorce, because of course she does.
Yeah, because I'm never there.
This is statistics. Exactly. Then you're on the hook. You're on the hook for that for the next 18 years. And in most states where you have lifetime alimony, you're on the hook for working 60 to 80 hours a week forever. Which then...
By the way, you're only seeing your kids 4 days a month now, too.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But the other issues, we asked our question, why is it that men die 8 years sooner than women? I can answer that. In Austria, they had a 100-year Cloister study to see why men die younger. And it turns out that if you're a monk or a nun and you have the exact same work schedule, diet, exercise, sleep routine, everything, men and women die on parity. So why is it that men die 8 years? It's male disposability. It's divorce courts. It's divorce rape culture.
Absolutely.
That's why.
Well, that's what this culture has turned into.
Yeah.
You know, not to say that men aren't men anymore, but men are disposable paychecks.
Yeah.
Literally.
So the issue is that for the man, he's working 60 or 80 and they get stamped with child support at that number. He has to work 60 or 80 for the
Good luck getting it revised.
For the next 18 to 20 years, where he signed up to work 60 or 80 for 2 or 3 years to get through a bad scenario to desperately keep the marriage together.
Absolutely. Because she wanted a bigger house.
So men don't leave. Men don't leave.
No.
Men don't leave. That's the secret. These traditional conservatives say, what do they say? You got to find the right woman, dude. And they make these laws so terrible that the exit cost is so high.
Yeah, it's astronomical.
That now that she leaves.
Yeah. It's easy for her to leave. Because think about it. If I can have my cake and eat it too, if I can still get your money, still get insurance, still get half of your disability, why wouldn't I?
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Because I can move on to something new, shiny, and still get everything that I already had.
It's all about cash and prizes. And what's a bigger prize than the kids?
Absolutely. That's the linchpin leverage.
So let's go back to vets.
Okay.
How many active duty and veterans are divorced?
90%.
90%.
Yep.
Is it really rare to find someone who is married that's a veteran or active duty, and 20 and 50 years later, they're still married to that same person?
Yes.
How
You asked
rare?
me that question earlier, and I've been thinking about it, and I know of one couple. Now, realize I served almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Met a few hundred, maybe 1,000 people during that time. I know one couple. One. That is still married to the original person. I want to say the 64% are already in their second or divorced for a second time.
Right.
Within 6 years.
Let's talk.
That's the norm.
That's the norm.
Yeah, that's not the 10th of percent.
So
That's
when you
the
go
norm.
sign up at the recruiter,
Mhm.
you're signing up for a divorce.
Mhm.
You're signing up for a silver bullet. You're signing up never to see your kids again. And you're signing up to waive 75% of your net income.
Absolutely. You know, they should say, the things you're signing up for are death, disability, and divorce if you make it that far.
If you make it that far. And
Yeah.
oh, by the way, she gets the majority of your retirement.
Absolutely. If you're married more than 10 years while you serve 10 years, then she's entitled to half year. So if I do 20 years and we were
Yes.
married for 10 years,
She gets
literally
half.
she gets 10 years worth of my disability.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I got divorced in year 10,
Yeah. 10 year, 1 month.
that means that everything you made from 0 to 10, your entire retirement from 0 to 10 goes to her.
Absolutely.
What a great deal.
Absolutely.
Retire on
sign
half
me
pay.
up.
Retire on half pay?
Yeah.
No, you retire on quarter pay because they know that over 90% of these dudes are getting divorces.
Yeah, it's
Are-
not even an epidemic. It's so far beyond it.
Are the dudes initiating the divorce?
No.
No.
So there's a term out there called dependas.
A dependus or dependopotamus?
Yes. Dependopotamus, and while it's a derogatory term, it's a very factual term. It's someone who depends solely on the service member for everything.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say that dependents are bad. Absolutely not. There is some great military spouses out there, but that's in every culture. That's in every industry. That's in every, there is a lot of good women out there when it comes to the military side that get it, that understand the service and sacrifice, that stay the course, that don't just support, that understand and comfort and become the rock. But that is so far the 10th percent, not the norm.
That's the unicorn.
Absolutely.
It's the absolute unicorn.
Yes.
Let's talk about, I'm 18 and 19 years old, I
Okay.
enlist. What's the trap of the dependopotamus? Where would you find him? Why would you marry him?
Any local club, any local hangout, any local watering hole.
Are these dependopotamuses, are they predators?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. They know that you're going to be here for 2, maybe 3 years, and then you're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
They know that you're already hurting for money because, let's be honest, military members don't get paid a whole lot.
Yes.
I think an E5 with all benefits right now is somewhere like $46,000 a year as an E5, and that's at 12 years service.
Yes.
We're not talking about an E5 with 4-year service. We're talking about an E5 with 12 years service. So yeah, we can get married. You're going to get $1,500 extra a month. I'm just hypothetically throwing a number.
Yeah.
So you're going to make an extra $1,500 a month. You're going to get to move off base.
Move off base, out of the barracks.
Absolutely. So now you're going to have your own party pad.
And when you're off base, you get even more money.
Correct. That's the BAH. That's a basic allowance for housing.
Okay.
So that's that additional money. When we get married, I also get dependent pay. I also get a cost of living. So now I'm pulling in extra $1,800, $2,000 a month. I got something warm and wet to go home to. Why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah.
I'm out of the barracks. I don't have to worry about Steve and John jacking with me in the middle of the night. I can party all I want. I got somebody to go home to. What they don't say is that be prepared because in 2 to 3 years, she's filing for divorce.
Yes.
Because she's not uprooting. Her kids, 1, 2, 3, however many kids it already is, she's not leaving.
Yeah.
You know, you were a paycheck, ways to an end. I don't know. I mean, it's, you know.
It's free money. It's cash and prizes, bro.
Absolutely.
It's how to exploit the system. I want to talk about the Service Member Civil Relief Act.
Okay.
It used to be called the
Soldiers.
It used to be called the Soldier Sailor.
Yeah.
The Soldier Sailor Leave Act. Tell me a little bit about that, just really quickly.
So the basic intention of that was to protect active duty service members from legal action being taken against them when they're deployed, from stopping any type of, you know, repossession or finance issue or custody issue from being affected while you're not there to represent yourself. What they don't tell you is, it doesn't really work. I've seen guys get served in Iraq. I've literally seen divorce papers sent to Iraq.
Let's talk about that. Let's slow it down. So I'm a dude, I'm 19, I'm 20, I'm 25. I go out to a bar. This girl kind of throws herself at me because the money is just too good.
And you look pretty good in a set of Marine Corps dress blues.
Correct.
That's not,
Correct. Absolutely. You're now deployed. You're in Afghanistan. You're somewhere in country.
Yep.
You're running a platoon, right? 20 to 40 men.
Absolutely.
What's your day to day? You're on patrol.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're leaving one point, you know, whether you're clearing houses or you're doing, you know, sweeps on convoy routes or you're doing escort missions. I mean, you're talking 10, 12, 14-hour days.
14-hour days.
Easy.
IEDs going off.
Absolutely. Mortar rounds coming in.
You're having to shoot people.
Yeah.
That's normal.
You know, your typical day in Houston. Yeah.
And you're dealing with all that stress.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Well, let's dig into that stress a little more. You just watched your best friend get blown up.
Yep.
You just saw the vehicle, you just saw the Humvee, 2 vehicles in front of you get blown to bits. You just saw a 10-year-old come right around the corner with an AK-47 and get shot. Heaven forbid you have a son that age. You just held the hand of somebody you've known for 5, 10 years and told them, I promise I'll tell your family what a hero you are. You know, let's get to the heart of that.
That's the heart of that.
Yeah.
That's the heart of that.
You know, my focus at that point should be on the guy to the right of me and the guy to the left.
But you're in some dirt village in the middle of nowhere. You'd have to hit a GPS transponder to figure out where you are.
Absolutely. You're in between BF and E.
And here comes a person with divorce papers.
Yeah. Well, so it normally comes in the standard mail.
Okay.
You know, and mail call comes out. Everybody's handing their paperwork. You grab it and you're like, what the is this?
What's going on? Well, as a service member, affairs are very prevalent.
Oh, absolutely. You already know when you go overseas, Jody, you know, Sancho is going to be at the house, you know, and that's not, I'm not trying to bash females. Don't get me wrong. When I went over there, did I expect my wife to have an affair on me? No.
But statistically,
yeah,
it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Especially among enlisted personnel.
Yeah.
So you're signing up for all this.
Especially an enlisted. Officer, not so much. Enlisted, I want to say it's 73 to 78%.
73 to 78%. When I leave the going country, she's with another dude.
Yeah. At some point during that 6 to 9 months.
At some point.
Yeah.
So you just saw your buddy get blown up.
Yeah.
You're getting shot out. You have to shoot a 10-year-old boy. You're worried about who she's banging. You're having a really hard time.
Missing your kids.
And you're missing your kids.
Yeah. You know, that call I got yesterday where I got to hear her say mama for the first time.
Yeah.
I got to hear her say daddy for the first time. And all of that is worth it if I can keep the fight over here.
Correct.
Because I'm fighting to protect our rights as United States citizens.
Yeah.
My rights. Yeah. Your rights.
Exactly.
It's fine because I'm here to fight for them.
So I'm in my 20 or 40 platoon. Right? Because we're Marines in the scenario. How many men are currently in this scenario would be going through divorce process?
Actively going through it at that time, I would probably say
40.
If you had 40 people, I would probably say there's a good 10 that are going through a divorce process, knowingly going through the divorce. Let me clarify that. Knowingly going through a divorce process, yes. Yeah. That it started before, that, you know, they were aware that it was going on. By the time you get back, it's probably closer to 20 of those 40, if not 25.
By the time you get back.
Yeah.
But here's the issue. You're clearing houses, doing all this stuff. You're having to worry about what's going on at home. The whole reason you have the original soldiers say the Relief Act is to stop that.
Yeah.
And say, no, you can't do that. And judges to this day file on enlistment personnel.
All the time.
They can't do it. It's illegal.
Well, just because it's illegal doesn't mean they don't do it.
And your average person coming home, what happens in court is, oh, well, we're going to mandate an 80-20 or 100% custody to her, and you get home and you have to spend $50,000 in court, and if you're making 30, you can't do that. No. So it's all said and done. This is at the heart of divorce rape culture. It's to steal your kids and to steal your money.
Well, and it's to steal your purpose. Because if I steal your will to fight, think about it. Why would I go after a veteran? They're responsible. They follow through. They stick to their commitments.
Yes.
That's why when you look at veterans that fall behind on child support, they are 80% more likely to be prosecuted than a civilian.
Is that probably why 40 of them a day kill themselves?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If they're all getting divorced and she's initiating divorce.
And by the way, because he has PTSD, he's a threat to our children. So now I've been deemed a threat to my children, even though I've never laid a hand on them. I've never laid a hand on her.
Yeah.
But now, not only can I not see my kids, I have to go through supervised visitation or fight to even get to see my kids. Because here's a crazy thing. If I take my kids and go on the run, I'm going to get prosecuted.
Yes.
No matter, even if I did it for their safety.
You're going to get an Amber Alert.
Absolutely.
And the likelihood is you're going to get shot by a cop in front of your kids. And then therefore, here's the secret. If you have a pension.
Guess who it's going to?
You're dead. They don't deal with you anymore. And she gets all of your retirement, all your pension, and all your disability pay.
Nationally, less than 17% of women are prosecuted for being behind on child support.
Yes.
Less than 17%.
Correct. But let's go back to PTSD.
Yeah.
If I want to have the most high-tech army, the most efficient army, the best military in the world, I also need to have the strongest mental and emotional.
Absolutely. And we do.
And we do.
And we do.
But the issue is that with PTSD, do the men know I shouldn't get counseling? I shouldn't go to PTSD because if I do, I'm going to lose my children because she's going to use it against me.
Do they know now? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The secret's out.
The secret's
out. When I got out, so we're talking 11 years now.
So the men that need help don't get help because they're going to lose their children.
Absolutely. Because the minute you get a diagnosis of PTSD, that is the women silver bullet protection order.
So a silver bullet, for those that don't know, is how do you stop a werewolf? With one false allegation, you shut them down.
Yeah.
So here's the question. Oh, well, Scott, these false allegations, they're like 1%. You are overblowing this, dude.
No.
What is your problem?
No.
So I'm a dude. I just get home from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk into my home to go see my wife and family.
Hopefully she's there.
Yeah. But what is she going to do? In the majority of cases, in over 50%, what's going to happen?
She's already got a restraining order filed or a protection order filed, and there's divorce papers waiting.
A TRO.
Yep.
Because you have PTSD or you're a danger.
Yeah. I'm worried when he comes home because he threatened me over the phone while he was there because he was angry. Well, we just got shot at. We just had a mortar attack. You call me complaining that you have no life, and I'm over here and my best friend just lost his life.
Yeah.
Don't sit back at home and tell me you have no life. You have everything right now. You have the kids. You have freedom of speech. You can get in your car and drive. You can go to Walmart. You can go to McDonald's.
And you don't have to worry about somebody killing you or murdering you or raping you.
You're going to sit here and tell me you have no life. Was I mad? Yes, I was mad. Because Tom just lost his wife and he'll never see his kids again. So yeah, I was frustrated with you. Doesn't mean I don't love you, but I threatened her.
You threatened her.
Yeah. And that's all it takes.
That's all it takes. But the other issue is that you may not even have threatened her.
No, you don't have to. Because again, I have not found more than 3 cases in the last 10 years where in family courts, fraud was prosecuted.
Exactly.
You can lie all day long in family court because it's civil and it's not a criminal.
Family court is the apex of male disposability.
Absolutely.
Because she gets infinite leeway and you get zero.
Yeah, good luck trying to represent yourself pro se.
Doesn't work.
No.
It's just, it's asking to lose your kids.
Yeah.
It's asking to get a 75% of your net income child support order. You're destroyed. What happens is that they steal your kids and they use that to steal all your money.
Absolutely.
That's the game.
Men have been reduced to a paycheck.
So what happens to the enlisted men? What happens to the airman or the enlisted man that comes home and she says, he threatened me?
So the first thing that's going to happen is that they're being removed to the barracks. They're not even allowed to be in their house anymore.
Yeah.
So now there's physical separation. There's distant separation. Heaven forbid they ask her questions like, have you ever had sex and you didn't want to? Well, most women who have been in a relationship will say yes. Because there's times that men have had sex when the woman wanted to and they didn't. But God, if it'll make you shut up, okay.
Or I love this person.
Yeah, I love them and I wanted to make them happy. I didn't want it because 63% of the time that's going to lead to a rape allegation that he raped her.
Right.
Just because she said, I had sex there's been times I had sex when I didn't want to. I've seen it. I've lived it.
So then what happens to your career, dude?
People can say you're innocent until proven guilty. No, you're not.
Guilty.
You are guilty until proven innocent.
But even if you're proven innocent,
it doesn't matter. The damage is done.
The damage is done.
Yeah.
So are you going to lose promotion?
Most likely, yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah, I know people who've been passed over off of mere allegations.
A mere allegation.
No proof, mere allegations. And literally took the next 2 years fighting to clear their name. And when they finally got it cleared, it was too late.
It was too late.
It was too late. You've already been passed over too many times.
Your career is over.
Because the question was asked and answered. But because we have become such I don't want to say a Me Too society. We have become a hypersensitive society.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think we live in a gynocentric society.
Well, okay.
Of male disposability, where we venerate women. Women get paid more. They work less.
But let's bring it back to the military.
Everything.
I'm talking the military.
Let's go back to the military.
Let's talk about, because it's not a gynocentric in the military. It is still a very,
But it is gynocentric in the military.
It is turning, yes.
Because here's the issue. Who walks those lines? Men or women?
Well, more and more now.
More and more
we're
women.
starting to see women on those lines.
And when you get a divorce, when she files for divorce, who gets all the money and all the kids?
She does.
Does the DOD support that, or do they not support that?
Oh, they absolutely support it.
So
the Soldier, Sailor, and Relief Act. I'm going to call it what I've always known it as.
Right.
I know it's the civil service.
They changed the name in 2003.
It would be so simple to protect veterans' rights. Literally, name a firefighter who has not seen a dead body. Name one. Name a paramedic that has not responded to a crash scene and seen a dead body. Name a police officer. Name a ER surgeon who hasn't seen a trauma. Now tell me the difference between that PTSD and what we saw. Is there a difference? Yes. Is it negligible? Absolutely. PTSD does not mean damaged goods. It doesn't. Half the school teachers out there have PTSD. Have you seen what they deal with in schools?
The reason why they deal with that in schools is because
we have a fatherless generation.
We have single parent homes.
Yep.
We have single moms. All the failing schools are comprised of one thing: single moms.
So let's get back to protecting veterans' rights. There's got to be legislative change. Disability should never be touched. Disability, I'm 80% disabled. And my disability got calculated into my child support. And that blew my mind.
Right.
Because I'll take care of my kids.
So
I'll find a way to take care of my kids.
So disability is for this.
It's for the disabled vet.
Right. I got my leg blown off.
Yeah.
And now, since statistically 90% of my marriages are going to end up in...
9 out of 10 are ending in divorce. Come on.
And she's initiating, then she gets to take 2/3 of my wheelchair pay? Are you serious? This is what I fight and die for? So she can get 80% of my wheelchair pay? Excuse me, I need railings for my bathroom so I can take a dump.
We'll put it in with the VA, and in 3 years, they'll get to it. And as vets, we do fight and protect rights.
The rights of other people, other countries, other continents.
Oh, no. The rights of American women.
Yes. Because
American men have no rights.
We have no rights.
None.
We live in a gynocentric
We
culture.
have a right to go make money and to give it away.
And here's the secret. Here's the thing that I always talk about. Men have two forms of birth control, a condom or a vasectomy.
Yep.
Women have over 32. They can use all forms of
Yep.
birth control. They take the morning after pill.
Yep.
They can get an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
They can give that child up for adoption.
Yep.
They can drop it at a safe space at a police or fire station.
Hospital, or yep.
It's walk away car insurance.
Adoption.
They
You
can-
name it.
They can walk away.
Yep.
Men don't have that option. It is not an equal society.
When we don't even have a say
whatsoever.
if she wants an abortion.
That is correct. We have no say in anything because the moment our DNA leaves our body,
They own it.
they own it.
Well, technically, the government owns it. At that
That's
point.
because we live in the matriarchy. We live in a hidden matriarchy. And that's the heart. Ask yourself this. Why is it that men face the draft and women don't? Why is it that if men don't sign up for selective service,
Mhm.
they lose their right to vote? They
Yep.
face imprisonment. They face a $250,000 fine. They can't get a government job.
Mhm.
In some states, they can't even get a driver's license.
Absolutely. Because we're expendable.
Why is it, if we're supposed to be equal, that women aren't in selective service? Why can't women be in the military? Why? Because we live in the hidden matriarchy. We live in a gynocentric culture. Because I am a disposable man.
Absolutely.
And in order for me to get a woman, for me to have a family, to live the dream, I have to work harder than a woman.
Yep.
I have to provide, or she won't even be attracted to me. And the moment we have children, and the moment she inevitably files for divorce, we set up all these laws. Traditional conservatives have a lie.
Yeah.
Find the right woman. Find the right woman. But they have no answer to
Try
this.
to find the right judge.
You'll never find the right judge.
Absolutely. You have a better chance of finding the right judge, though.
Absolutely you do.
Or find the right jury trial.
That's only in Texas. Or you have to engage in political corruption and pay the judge off.
Absolutely.
That happens in Texas. That happens in Colorado.
Or you can't even get a bill passed because the head of the Juvenile Justice and Family Committee sits on it and then 90 days later gets an award from the Family Law Foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why men are walking away, dude.
Yeah.
All this is exactly why men are walking away.
Absolutely.
All of this.
And they're going to continue to walk away.
It's the reason why over half your bridal shops have shut down in the last 10 years. Over 40% of your jewelry stores are shut down. Men aren't getting married. It's done.
And it's going to continue to go down.
I want to talk about what the child support hustle is. The child support hustle for most people, because the average single filer in America makes 35, so both people are making 40, the woman's going to walk away with about $3,700 to $4,000 a month in take-home pay after taxes, after health insurance, etc. He's going to walk away with well under $1,000. Literally, a third of all doctors. You walk into a doctor's parking lot, doctor's parking at hospital systems, a third of these are junkers.
Mhm.
They're beaters. Why? Because this man's making $250,000 a year and his take-home pay is $1,000 or $1,500 a month after child support and taxes. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. It's ridiculous.
Let's talk about vets. Let's talk about the child support hustle.
Well, let's talk about active duty. Let's focus on active duty. Let's start there.
I get that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about active duty. How do we support our troops, our current troops?
Again, we've got to establish some clear-cut guidelines. Let's talk recommendations before we talk the problem. And I know that sounds kind of counterbalanced, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Because we're a disposable asset to the U.S. government that can be picked up and moved at any time, there should be a law in place that says if you're getting orders to another state, within 30 days of getting to that state, you should be able to walk into court and get a reconsideration done on your child support.
Yes.
Because cost of living changes from state to state. BAH, basic allowance for housing, changes from state to state, depending on your zip code. So if I was stationed in Hawaii, that has one of the highest BAH rates, and I moved to Texas, I'm still paying the child support off that Hawaii rate.
Yes. So if you move from Pearl to Fort Sam Houston.
Yeah, if I'm going Kaneohe Bay to wherever, to Galveston, to a reserve unit in Galveston, I am still getting bent over because I've got to now do a change of venue, get it moved to Texas. I've got to put in a request for reconsideration. I've got to put in an affidavit. And now I've got to hire an attorney.
Right. For $15,000 minimum.
Absolutely.
Minimum.
Absolutely.
And you're making 45. So we're going to get that.
Yeah. While paying child support.
While
now realize I was making 45.
Right. So you're making.
Let's start there.
Let's start there.
I'm married.
Yeah.
Make it 45,000. Okay.
As an E7, E5, whatever it is.
Let's say E5. Let's just use E5 12 years. That's the number I looked up this morning, so I feel confident with that number. So 45,000. So now I'm gonna have to pay child support. So 45,000. I got taxes. I got child support coming out of that, and I'm moving back on base, which means that I'm losing that extra.
And in most states, you're gonna pay for her attorney. In most states.
Most states, yeah.
In most states.
Which again, I think there should be a law against.
Absolutely.
Because the person who files, in my mind, now, let's not even talk about abuse cases. If there's clear-cut domestic violence, then that's SOB should have to pay for everything.
But the problem is that 70% of domestic violence is initiated by women.
Okay.
That's the great secret.
But that's even greater to my point. If there is clear-cut convincing evidence.
Only 15% of the time is it the Hollywood drama of the man and the child in the background.
So if that's the case, then this law would even make more sense.
Yeah.
If there's clear, convincing, overwhelming evidence of domestic violence, that person should be responsible for paying for the divorce. Period. Because you're the cause.
Yeah.
Maybe not the entire cause, but there is no place for domestic violence.
Correct.
None. I don't care gender, sex, height, age, race, religion, none.
Yeah.
There's never a time for anyone to put their hands on each other. But especially when it comes to service members, there's got to be protection put in place because it is a game that is played.
It's a game. So I'm making 45 in Honolulu.
Yep. Honolulu, making 45.
I moved to Galveston. I moved to Harris County.
So now I'm having to move on base because I'm divorced, which means I'm losing my BAH.
Right. So you have off-base allowance because it's the bonus.
Right. That's
now,
the basic allowance for housing.
You're not married. You need to go back on base, bro.
Absolutely. Because you don't have your kids either.
Yeah.
Because now there's a geographical separation, which means that I'm still going to be paying child support even though I'm not seeing my kids.
Yeah.
So now that 4 days a month has gone to as agreed upon because you're active duty.
So you're making $3,000 after taxes. Yep. You're going to probably end up paying $1,500 in child support.
Let's lowball it. Let's say $1,000. You're only going to pay $1,000. Well, I just lost $1,100 in BAH. So that $3,000 that I was making is now down to
$2,900.
Yep.
No, sorry. $1,900. And now I'm paying another $1,000 in child support.
So now I'm down to $900.
Yeah. And if you got on the average and you got $1,500 a month in child support, you're living on $600, $500 a month, dude.
And still paying my car note, possibly her car note.
And all of the debt from the divorce.
Absolutely.
Because people don't talk about this.
Yeah.
The first stop for a man after divorce court is bankruptcy court.
Absolutely.
But now bankruptcy, you can't walk out from the debt. You had to pay it off somehow. So you're into internal servitude just to pay your lawyers. Not to mention the continual legal action, the legal terrorism.
Yeah. This isn't a one and done. This isn't a you walk in, there's a order done and you walk out and it's over.
No, it's on forever.
You can count every 2 years that you're going to be back in court.
Colorado is the only realistic state in the union where if you have a 10% change in circumstances, they will grant it. They will grant child support. In Texas, in Alabama, in Florida, in California, in Alaska.
Say that again.
In Colorado, if you have a 10% adjustment of your child support outcome, meaning you put it into the income shares model, in this little spreadsheet, and it moves out, and you move from $300 a month to more than $330 a month or $270, your child support automatically gets changed. Automatically.
You mean we're starting to deal with common sense here and common practice?
Only in Colorado. You walk into the child support agency and say, here I am, I'm a veteran, I've changed my numbers, blah, 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 blah. But if you get transferred from Texas to Colorado, or if you get transferred from Alaska to Colorado, New York to Colorado, no, your divorce happened in New York, dude. It didn't happen in Colorado.
Yep. You literally have to file to get it completely moved. And guess what? They're going to fight that.
Because, absolutely.
The state of Texas is going to fight it. Absolutely. Because that's money they're making.
Because it's 4D money.
Yep.
Right? It's 4D money.
Right? Absolutely. But Title IV is the golden cash cow.
People don't understand that Social Security Title 4D, for every $1 Texas gets, they get roughly 12 from the feds.
Yeah.
But people don't understand is that Social Security is not for little old people not to being in a cans of dog food.
It's child support enforcement.
1/3 of Social Security is spent on child support enforcement.
Yeah.
1/3. But the hidden secret is that 70% of people on arrears make under $10,000 a year. It's just about the triangle trade. It's just about criminalizing the poor. It's just about making him pay and go away. Pay and go away.
Again, we've reduced fathers to a paycheck.
Yes, that's the issue. But the other issue is that why aren't we equal? This is not 1920. Why can't she get a job?
Because it's not about equality. It's about making money.
It is about making money.
Literally, the entire system.
But my team talks about the divorce rate premium.
Oh,
What's the divorce rate premium? It's simple. What is your life outcome as a woman who's a divorce raper? If you go and steal 75% of his net income, you steal the home. All the laws are set up in this gynocentric society, in this hidden matriarchy, for you to get the kids, for you to get the money, and him to be destroyed, and your kids are destroyed. Look up life outcomes of single moms and life outcomes for children of single moms. Every social problem we face in America, every single one, even terrorism,
directly attributed.
Drug abuse, teen pregnancy, failing schools, all ghettos.
Teen suicide.
Teen suicide. 90% of inmates, 90% of people in juvenile detention. Nearly all behavior problems in schools. All from this. All from not running 50-50s.
From creating a fatherless generation, absolutely.
Yes.
So somebody asked me a question the other day. How can you eliminate suicide veteran? How can we cut that number?
Go to 50-50s, problem solved. It will eventually, the issue is this, right? It would take you 20 years of consistency of having every little law changed in minutia. If you simply moved to a 50-50.
Clear and convincing evidence of 50-50
So
with fit parents.
The issue about clear and convincing evidence is you can't play the game of a false accusation. There's no silver bullets. You must have proof.
Yep.
You're not going to do a silver bullet, get your kids and walk away with them and get all this money. The issue is that as a society, we need to come to the realization that we spend over $3 trillion on our fatherless children because Warren Farrell is clear. Boys that hurt us.
That's right.
That's the heart.
Hurt people do hurtful things.
Hurt people do hurtful things. We've been doing this for 60 and 70 years. We never had all these problems. I'm not going to
Because we didn't have fatherless generation.
And it's fine if you want to get divorced. It's fine if you want to raise kids out of wedlock. But your children deserve both parents.
Literally, if I could wave my wand right now and say, you let me do anything for 12 months and I can show you a 40% change in 12 categories, you'd be all over it.
Yeah.
Anybody would be.
Yeah.
Everybody says they support veterans. What are we doing to... I'm not talking about the 10% Lowe's discount. I'm not talking about the 5% McDonald's discount. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about truly support veterans.
Yeah.
Because let's think about it. Some of the most purposed people in this world are veterans. Because when you can function on a purpose and you've had a platform to perform, purpose is secondary because we get it.
Tell me about purpose and suicide and why suicide is so high on active duty and veterans.
Okay. As an active duty Marine, I knew what my purpose was, to protect the guy to the right and the left of me. I knew what my mission was, to close with, eliminate, and destroy. That's easy. That's easy. When you know your purpose, when it's laid out in front of you and you've got the support structure, the infrastructure, the team, your Marines, your brothers, it's real easy to find that purpose. When you get out, for me, I didn't want to get out. You know, I was medically separated. So I literally was an active duty Marine one day and a civilian the next day, a veteran the next day. And I had to decide, what is my new purpose going to be? And honestly, for me, it was fairly easy. After about a week of playing Madden 2007 for like 20 hours a day, I realized that the time I had lost with my kids, I was going to make up. My purpose became a purpose-driven life to be there for my kids.
Yeah.
To do anything and everything.
Yes.
It didn't, you want to talk about dye my hair to match my daughter's cheer uniform, turn my man cave into a tumbling studio.
Oh, but you're just a unique man. Men don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, Scott's just the unicorn.
No,
Are you the unicorn?
I'm not the unicorn. I'm the majority.
Way majority.
Yeah.
It's a bigoted perspective to say, oh, well, you're the only good father I know.
Go
That's
to
ridiculous.
any baseball or softball game out there. Go to any cheer competition and look at the number of fathers in the stands. It will absolutely amaze you. I was a cheer dad. I wasn't just a cheer dad. I was a spotter. I was a conditioning coach. I was a rallier.
Yes.
I mean, and you know what was funny? It wasn't the mothers saying that's awesome. It was the other fathers going, dude, nice hair. Love it.
Love it.
Yeah. You know.
Because we love our children
because
more than we love ourselves.
Absolutely. So back to purpose. So we find that purpose in our identity in our kids and being the best that we can be for our kids. Now, all of a sudden, that's gone in the blink of an eye. So something I spent 9, 10, 12, 15 years doing as an active duty member, I lose. Then I lose the only thing I have left, and that's my kids. Mm-hmm. I don't care what anybody says. Once you've lost that, you don't find identity in work. You don't find identity in anyone else. You've lost that purpose, and the divorce rate culture is murdering our veterans. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely murdering our veterans because you've taken everything they have and you've taken their will to fight. Because if the only thing I'm reduced to is a paycheck, it would almost be easier for my kids to have the check and for me not to have to deal with it. Because my kids are going to get the money either way. But me only seeing them 3-4 days out of the month literally destroys us.
Yes.
I don't care how strong you are. I have seen things that I don't wish upon anybody. And the first time my daughter called me after the separation, she goes, Dad, I just miss you. I just wish I could just hold you. That made me crumble. How can I protect my kid when I'm just a paycheck?
When you're just a paycheck. And the other issue is that you fought, died, became disabled.
To protect her rights.
Yes. And you come home
I have none.
To have none. Because as a man, we are disposable in the matriarchy. We are disposable in the matriarchy. And if you don't think we have a matriarchy,
think again.
Think again.
Yeah.
Where do the kids go? Where does the money go?
Mm-hmm.
It goes to the women.
Absolutely.
We live in the matriarchy. If you're the DOD, you're the U.S. government, your society, and you really cared about stopping suicides of vets, if you want to stop 90% of them, how would you stop them?
Easy. Well, I say easy.
Well, I mean, you'd want to stop them because 90% are because of the divorces.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
And she's divorcing. She's taking the money. Yeah. The DOD has set it up where she can do anything she wants and get your money regardless.
So the highest raising rate of veteran suicide is between 19 and 34. So let's take a 19-year-old. Just graduated high school. Doesn't have a lot of life experience. Just went through boot camp, gets to his first duty station. For me, I think it should automatically be, for your first 3 years of enlistment, you can't get married. You should have to focus on growing up. Figure out what life is about.
But it's also to protect you from dependopotamus.
Absolutely. Because if I can change you from a boy to a man, which basically that's what we're doing. We're watching young men.
Because most of these young men, here's the secret. The super majority of all these young men are raised by single moms. They're raised in school systems that no longer hire men.
Correct.
So they're all raised by women. They don't know how to be men.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. Let's say 3 years. If you're between the ages of
19 and 21.
1925. I mean, let's be real here. Yeah. I don't think I still wouldn't, most people wouldn't consider me mature yet, but I think 25 is a pretty solid age because at 21, you're just now legally able to drink. Yeah. You're hitting that next wave of partying in life. Yeah. And then premarital counseling, mandatory.
Mandatory premarital counseling before you do it.
Absolutely. In the Marine Corps, my command, we were required to tell our command that we were getting married. And the command could say, you're going to go to counseling, but it should be across the board.
Because we want this to work for you.
And I'm not talking 1 session, 3 sessions. I'm talking about 6 months.
Yes, but the other issue is that what they don't want are 40 Marines in some dirt village getting shot at.
Worried about
and
Jody
and
back
half
home.
Of them are going through divorce, getting raped. Yeah. Because they're worried about all the problems are putting all the other men's lives at risk.
Absolutely.
How many men have died just from the symptom of divorce rape culture?
Thousands.
Okay, so mandatory counseling.
Thousands, yep.
So what's the next thing?
Post-deployment couples counseling.
Post-deployment couples counseling.
Absolutely. So we as a military do a great job preparing people for combat. We do all the workups, all the simulations, all the trainings, What we don't do a very good job of is taking care of you when you come home. How do we break down the things that you saw and the things you had to do? Is it normal? Absolutely. Are you broken? No. There's a difference between injured and hurt.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people that are hurt. A lot of people that are hurt. And there's nothing wrong with being hurt. There's nothing wrong with asking, should I be sad about this? I watched someone die. I had to take a life. But if she's involved in those conversations, she kind of gets to understand that it's not her. Because when we come back, when you went to college, were you the same person when you came home as before you went?
No.
Okay, so if I send you to college and you change, if I send you to combat,
you're going to majorly change.
You can't come back the same.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think it's so critical is that it's a mandatory post-deployment couples counseling.
Right. To get back in.
Start the reintegration where we open those lanes of conversation and communication where it's an environment where I don't have to tell her all the details because she doesn't need to know all the gory details. But it's an environment where she can understand that it's not her and it's not me. It's the environment that changed. And it's the environment that changed me. So those would be the three. And I honestly think you're looking at a 30 to 40% reduction in both divorce and suicide.
What about number 4 is a construct that you make it either a felony or a treasonable offense for any court that issues separation orders or divorce orders in violation of the
Servicemen Civil Relief Act. I think you have to take it a step even further than that.
Okay.
There's sanctions on the attorneys. Obviously the judges, yes, because ultimately it lands on their plates. If we don't start protecting the people that are protecting us, we're going to become a society that is no longer protected.
Correct.
I talk to a lot of young people all the time, and there's 18 and 20-year-olds don't want to go in the military anymore. Why? Because they see what happened to their older brother.
They
see
it's even
the divorce rape culture.
That's the issue. Men are running away, but they're also running away from service.
Absolutely.
They're not being cops anymore. They're not being enlisted personnel. They're running. It's so hard. Why is it so hard?
Because we don't protect them. We don't protect those who protect us.
Because it's not fair. It's not equitable by any stretch of the imagination. We're saying you're going to be a disposable man, go out and die in a death profession. Yeah. And oh, by the way, if you survive it and you run the gauntlet and survive it, you're going to be penniless and homeless and kill yourself. What a great deal.
Absolutely. Sign me up.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, you already did.
Oh, wait, you already did.
Yeah.
Another thing we could do is have instantly changeable modifiable child support.
Instantly changeable modifiable. So the entire system to me is flawed. We have 50 states with 50 different sets of rules.
Yep.
Why?
Does justice change the law once I go into Arkansas from Texas at the county line?
No. So why do we not have a set standard across the board? Because in most states, I get half the debt, she gets half the debt. I get half the assets, she gets half the assets. Yeah. That's pretty standard across the 50 states, from what I understand. But it's when it comes to the kids that everything changes. Yet it took 2 people to make them.
It took 2 people to make them.
It took both of us being together to make it.
But we can't raise them together.
But we can't.
Our kids don't need us equally?
So
really?
We have got to come up with a unified system that allows judges the lateral access to be able to say, I understand that order was written in Texas, but you are now in Georgia, and I am going to make a ruling on this.
Correct.
Because
I shouldn't even have a lawyer.
No.
All I have to do is mail my orders to the child support agency in Austin, in the state of Texas, or to Boise, Idaho, and say, here's where I'm at.
Here's my new orders.
And it could be that you're going to move from Iowa to Hawaii. Yeah. So she gets more. What a great deal.
Yeah. But what happens when I move closer? Guess what? If I happen to move and she's in Galveston and I'm in Houston, guess what? Now I should also be able to get more time with my kids.
Yes, you should also be able to get it moved to a 50-50.
Why do I have to go back into court and spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000?
Or $100,000.
Well, yeah.
In Texas, she can be a prostitute running a brothel out of her home, and she will still maintain 80% custody. Yep. That's not one case, that's countless cases.
So let's give a hypothetical scenario.
Still don't believe we don't live in the matriarchy?
Man and woman divorce. Woman's boyfriend molests the daughter.
Yeah.
CPS will not touch the mother because the allegation is not against her. Forget the fact that she provided the environment. I'm not going to say allowed.
Well,
maybe wasn't aware.
Let's say she continually dates this man that's a child molester.
Absolutely. After the evidence has surfaced.
And if you as a man say, excuse me, this is wrong, you are now the problem.
Sir, you need to calm down.
You need to calm down. No, my daughter's getting banged over here and she's 7 years old.
Yeah.
I need to calm down.
Sir, you need to calm down.
You're destroying my child.
Mm-hmm.
You're destroying our children.
Because it's not about what's in the best interest of the child. Best interest of the child is a crock of crap. It's the best interest of the dollar.
Yes, because it's very clear. Every social science study, you can read the Boy Crisis, there's mountains of endnotes. Every social science study says the best life outcome for children is on a 50-50.
Yep.
The worst life outcome with a child, the worst life outcome for children is with a single mom, and not by a little, by a mountain.
What?
The worst life outcome. If you really wanted to play the best life outcome card, technically, the best life outcome card are with divorced dads.
Yep.
Hello.
So
back to our scenario.
Yep.
Where daughter's being molested by boyfriend, which is actually very common.
Absolutely, it's common.
80% of child abuse is by mom or mom's lover, stepfather.
Yep.
80% of child abuse and child sexual abuse.
But let that mother make the same allegation against the father. I promise you, it'll be 2 to 4 years.
Oh.
Before he even gets a chance
Let's
to
talk
fight.
about male disposability.
Okay.
Why is it for every year in jail a woman gets, a man gets 8? 5 out of 6 men would not be in prison if they got the exact same time as a woman got.
Yep.
When a 27-year-old has sex with a 15-year-old, a teacher, and he's a man, he's a rapist, he goes to jail for 7 to 10 years.
She loses her license or goes to another school district.
What happens to her is she has an inappropriate relationship.
Yeah.
She doesn't rape that 15-year-old boy.
No.
She gets
a fine.
She gets probation, dude. Yeah. She may lose her job and she gets probation. Don't think we live in the matriarchy. Don't think we live in a gynocentric culture. 43% of all sexual assaults are committed by women. By women. But you're buying the Hollywood story that it's always the evil man doing the child abuse. It's always the evil man being the domestic violence person.
Absolutely.
It's always the evil man being the rapist.
Well, because again, that's a societal acceptance. Society has accepted that men are a paycheck, that men are disposable, that men are not required. You know, I love hearing the cries from the feminists of anything the father can do, I can do. Let me rephrase. I've had this discussion with a lot of passionate females.
Yeah.
I'm a male. I'm a proud male. I can do a lot of things for my daughters. But the one thing I can't do is tell them what a period feels like. I can't tell them what cramps feel like. And I can't tell them what childbirth feels like. Never will be able to.
Right.
I am a father.
The other issue is that the mother can't tell what a boy feels like.
Absolutely.
That's the hidden secret.
And more than that, my son can relate to me on an intellectual level and an emotional level of understanding that I'll never be able to with my daughters. Right. I have an amazing relationship.
And as your son grows up, he's surrounded by single moms.
Yep.
He never gets access to your parents.
Yep.
Because that's the hidden secret for grandparents.
Absolutely no. Grandparents have no rights.
Your grandparents will never see if you're an adult and you have an adult child and he's a boy. Get used to the fact you will never see those grandchildren again if there's a divorce. Chances are. Ever. Yep. But the other issue is that as that little boy grows up, he's surrounded by women, by mothers only. He goes through a school system that's entirely based on women. And he goes into college that's entirely surrounded by women. So he spends his whole life in a gynocentric culture. Let's go back to your scenario quickly and talk about the molester and the mom. The mom is obviously in a relationship with a child molester.
Absolutely.
She's endangering her children. Is she a fit parent if she's dating a child molester? She is choosing the life outcome of her children over her good times.
Well, I can tell you in the state of Texas, CPS says that because the allegation is not against her, that she's not a threat.
But the environment she's placing that children in are.
100% agree with you. So let me give you another.
If I left the loaded handgun or a crack pipe on the coffee table in my house,
and your child got a hold of it? Yeah.
The child's going to get a hold of it. I'm endangering the welfare of my child. So if I bring in a child molester into my house, I know one, and I actively know it, and I actively engage in
But you have
having
to
it.
believe it. You have to believe it. And again, realize that the majority of them, no, can't be.
Okay, keep going.
Can't. So let me give you another hypothetical scenario. I go to a beach. I'm walking down the beach in Galveston. There's a beautiful woman. I walk up, smack her on the butt, cop a feel, keep walking. Now there's a 15-year-old, 13-year-old girl, and I do the same thing. What is the chargeable offense? I can tell you in the state of Texas, it's the only chargeable offense is on the mother. It's on the grown woman. Because sexual assault of a child means there has to be contact with the vaginal area. So we have no way to protect our daughters. So as a father who's designed to protect, we have no way to protect our daughters. Oh, by the way, you only have 4 days a month to protect them. And we're not going to take them from the mother because she's not the one that the allegation's on. I mean, the entire system is literally set up to destroy our culture.
Yes. The issue is that 93% of children reside with mothers.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 7% remaining, 5% of mothers walk away.
Yep.
The other 2% are so bad parents, even in a gynocentric culture, that they're ripped away because they're drug addicts, they're out of control people. But here's the big question for Las Vegas. I call this a Las Vegas scenario.
Okay.
My team and I talk about Las Vegas all the time. Would you knowingly go to Las Vegas for 93% of the time? You were going to lose everything you had.
No.
You were going to lose your kids. You're going to stand a damn near good chance of becoming homeless, thrown out of prison, and kill yourself and lose everything you ever worked for. And
Everything you're going to work for. Yeah.
the majority of everything you're going to work for. Would you do that? All based on your underwear, of what underwear I wear.
Yeah.
No.
Technically, it's not even based on the underwear if you think about it. Because when you look at the changes, especially with the LGBT and, we've gotten away from even the underwear deciding it. We really have.
It's really about persecution of the heterosexual male.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of lawyers talking to me specifically recommending that men become transgenders on paper just so they can have equal time with their children. So we have to game courthouse systems or we have to bribe judges to get equal time. If you're the dad and the mom is sleeping with a child molester in your home, in say Texas, they might give you 50-50 then.
Maybe.
Depending
on how much you're willing to pay. And you better be willing to pay 6 figures. And you better be ready for about a 2.5-3 year fight.
Right.
That not only is going to destroy you, but it's going to destroy your kids. So the question is, are you willing to fight that and put your kids through that to protect them?
I would.
And literally, that's a suicidal question.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that for a second.
How broken is the world in this country where we do this? I spent a month in Scandinavia about a couple months ago. And we talked to people because Scandinavia runs 50-50s. They run very low child support numbers. There's no alimony.
They've been 50-50 forever. I mean, it's been a long time.
Long time because they believe in life outcomes.
Yeah.
That's why. And the whole divorce rape premium, the concept of picking up your feet. They don't want you to pick up your feet. Well, they want you to work.
And look at their culture. Look at their crime rates. Look at their happiness. Look at
highest everything.
Oh my goodness.
Highest everything. And what I said was, women get 27 days a month with kids. Men get 4. And if you're homosexual, you get 15. Their mouths gape open. And you know what they told me? Isn't it interesting that from the land of Lincoln, this country has a hard time understanding exploitation of others?
Yeah.
Scott, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
I've enjoyed it.